Welcome to day 2. Yesterday was a super productive day where we managed to get 2/3, let's call it. They weren't exactly the same size, but we got 2 out of 3 planks under the keel and formed 2/3 of our sacrificial keel. I think we would have been able to finish it all in one go if it weren't for having to plug some of the holes of the through bolts of the keel, which we had missed somehow, but at least they are all plugged now. We had to wait for the epoxy to cure, we had to sand them down, then apply this epoxy tar under the keel and on the sacrificial keel, and then fasten it. We've only got one more piece to go. I've learnt I'm going to put some long sleeves on. I'm going to wear gloves because I've got a million cuts on my hands, and other than that I've put a ton of sunscreen on because yesterday, yeah, I learned my lesson. I am thinking that this aft piece isn't going to take very long. It shouldn't. I think all the holes are plugged as well. We are going to extend the sacrificial keel to under the rudder. We're not going to cut it yet, as next door they're going to start working on, or they've already come and taken all the measurements of the metal plate that goes around that propeller area, and we would like for it to go slightly under the rudder to prevent anything like nets or even seaweed or ropes to follow the keel and go up in front of the rudder. You'll see what I mean with that. I think they will come today as well, maybe, who knows. They were here yesterday all day and they did a really good job so far, and they're very productive, so they might come today and start welding, but I can't promise that. But I can promise you that once that sacrificial keel is installed, there's a lot more to do. So let's get going. I think Zek is already prepping the jack and some wedges, so I'm going to go down, put some boots on, long sleeve, some goggles, some glasses, and get cracking.
Stump. I got my knife and sack, gonna harvest a bunch. Mushroom on the stump, mushroom on the stump, mushroom on the stump, mushroom on the stump. I see that reishi mushroom on the hemlock tree. Gonna go get my ladder and bring it to my baby. Mushroom on the stump, mushroom on the stump, mushroom on the stump, mushroom on the stump.
Come on, baby! This is one of the bits that takes the longest, and that's setting up the supports, because we have to remove this. We're going to put a jack over there, and this is going to be removed. We've got one of these on this side and one on the other side. We just put some wedges in there and lift it a bit while we remove this. Now the plan is to not put it all the way to the end, the sacrificial keel, just up to here, this line, as we are going to make an extension of the keel, not sacrificial, so epoxied onto the bottom of it from there onwards, because that's going to be surrounded by that metal plate anyway. So that if we ever need to replace the sacrificial keel, we don't have to remove any of this plating, and anything forwards can easily just be unscrewed. So that's the plan. Just going to go and Zek is removing that jack over there now, and he's going to place it over here so we can lift this out.
Did my chores, made my bed 'cause I'm supposed to. Cleaned my room, obeyed my dad 'cause I'm supposed to.
You know, this boat was the one that flipped, so he ended up having to take his engine out and replace his engine. Now he's actually got the same engine as we have, the 352, Mercedes 352. Yeah, the trailer, that little wheelbarrow thing, managed to get all the way up past all these planks, and the second we got onto the smooth pavement, it lost the wheel. So next door went to go and get their forklift truck, and we did lose Zeka for a little bit. He'll be back soon so we can finish this. Nico is up on the deck removing some old caulking. Old caulking because we've already been here for 3 years. So of the planks that have dried up a bit, and just putting some more in. It's a quick job. Fit it with some of that black fairing caulking compound, and then this should be one of the, this is our first 2-year maintenance. And then that should be ready and waterproof for when we head over into there. No? We're alone with him. He's nice. We're never alone. But he is our last neighbor. Then we're going and then he's alone. We're gonna go there, so it's good that they left because they can go down to their island now and we're gonna go there. So the plan is we're putting this support so we can remove the jack. We're gonna add some screws where we need to on this one, and then we're gonna epoxy glue a piece of keel onto that, which the metal plate of the welders next door is gonna go onto. So this is the last sacrificial keel we're installing before we just extend the keel with epoxy.
Okay, bem. Vamos bem. Agora não sai. O negócio vem de baixo. Ó.
That was the last piece of the sacrificial keel. Now we're going to get the same thing, just slightly thinner, because it's going to be that piece of wood that I'm going to add underneath, plus a metal plate which is going to be flush with the keel. What's going to happen is I'm going to make epoxy with cabosil to make it nice and sturdy. The same joint we did over here, so it just becomes like one extended piece of wood that isn't meant to be removed. We're just going to drill it in so all the epoxy just squeezes out, just like with that tar. And then we're also going to make it a bit longer here. Like slightly longer, so that if any ropes, let's get a rope. Let's say this is a rope, let's say it flows under the keel, that it can never go up here and get caught. So we're going to make it slightly longer, so whatever flows past this joint and out back.
Isso, muito bem, galera. Ele vai ter que espalhar, pra dentro pra fora vai ter que espalhar.
Madeira tá
Tudo aí.
Yeah. We also made this one like tiny bit thinner, so when the metal plate comes under it, it's as flush as possible with this forward one.
Aí, muito bem. Quem vai ser aí, bem?
It is so good how these guys next door work. They were here yesterday 7:30 in the morning, just after lunch, so let's say 1 p.m. They already came with the first welds and the prototype of that filter, and then they already took loads and loads of measurements of the metal plate that's going around that keel and the propeller. And today they already came with, check this out, today they came with the raw water filter that will go in the engine room. Raw water in, raw water out through a grid or a kind of metal grid through the middle, all stainless. and out through to the engine cooling. Zeka is doing an absolute epic job with smoothing out that side of the sacrificial keel. I went next door to go and tell them that we are ready to receive the big plate. I'm really curious to see it and for you guys to see it. Also, went to go and get some more epoxy. I'm just going to cover all the bare wood here with epoxy resin, just so that it stays nice and strong under that plate as well. I am absolutely mega fully happy about how this ended up. It's full of epoxy resin now. That's just being cured, so tomorrow the welders are going to come over and put the plate on. It's been a lot for 2 days, but I mean, has it? Yeah, I think it's been a lot for 2 days. It's been non-stop work. It's evening now, everyone's starting to clean up, except for Zek. I mean, I've seen what a beast he is. He just never stops working. And he, even last night when we finished at like 7:30, he moved over to the workshop and he finished working on someone else's keel over there. And then he went home, and then he just keeps, this guy doesn't stop. But I've got another job or two that I would really like to do that aren't boat related, but that are car related. And one of them allows me to actually drive home without interruptions. The positive terminal on the battery just keeps coming loose. As in, like, I think that's why the car doesn't start properly. I'm just going to tighten that. And the second one is, I'm going to chop the tip off this exhaust, because you can see that's not functional very much. For 3 months I've been looking at that exhaust thinking I'm going to cut it, and for 3 months I've been like struggling with the starting of the engine, and as that terminal is super loose, I assume it might be that. If not, I'll redo the negative or the grounding cable another time. We'll see. Maybe it fixed it. Day 2 is over. Very productive 2 days. Also, thank you so much, Zeka, for helping out. Someone forgot to install the brakes on this guy, so I'll try and keep up with his pace as we continue this build, or not continue, as we finish this build. The full sacrificial keel is in place. Tomorrow I'm going to go over with a and sand all this tar off. It's already dried. It's like a kind of dried Sikaflex kind of thing, but it's epoxy based. I'm going to sand all that. Zeka did the other side already. I don't know if you can see. It's looking very nice. And then I'm going to go over with some fairing compound in any of the gaps that are remaining, and then leave it painted so that we don't need to come back to this until we do the anti-fouling. Just then the neighbors came by to fit these plates. However, I just applied all the epoxy resin and it hadn't quite cured yet, so they'll be back tomorrow morning. That's going to be the main job of tomorrow, which is a big step forwards as well as sanding and fairing and painting the sacrificial keel. But thank you so much for watching this episode. Really hope you liked it. There's a lot to come still. If you haven't caught up on what we are working on right now, you can check yesterday's video. And if you want to keep following, you follow tomorrow's and after tomorrow's video. Thank you so much for liking this video if you have already, and thank you so much if you're a subscriber. That means a lot to us. See you tomorrow.